All right, what's up, guys? We are, what the heck is this, Tuesday night. So I've been able to get through kind of the comments, discussions, presentations. This will be really important for anybody who hasn't presented yet, and really important for anybody who has presented yet who has to present again. That sounded kind of funny. So it'll be really important for everybody. We've seen the first two presentations. Frankly, the bar was set high. There's usually a few rookie errors. Some of them were done. I'll point them out. But that was cool. And if you've seen them, and I hope you have, well done. So I'm going to tell you what I liked. I'm going to tell you what I didn't like. And the good news is, if you are the first people to have to present, you are presenting blind, which means I'm much more gentle on your evaluation than would be otherwise. So, team number one. It's really helpful, isn't it, to have somebody part of the organization that you want to support on your team. So, good job. The background that was given on Fred Hutch and proton treatment, if I'm saying that right, was perfect and it was compelling. So, great background. Number two, good quantifiable metrics. Your performance to plan didn't exist. It wasn't there. I'll explain that in just a minute. Both groups had the same thing. That's totally fine. But if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? So being able to measure it and say, this is how we define success is a really big deal, because otherwise we can sit back and pat ourselves in the back and say, oh, gee, look at the nice thing we did, with no clear criteria, because anyone could come along and say, you didn't do squat. So define success and define why that's success. So you had good quantifiable metrics. I'm going to encourage you to put it into a performance to plan chart. So we'll get back to that here in just a minute. Marketing video. Jack, sounds like that was you. You're going to deep dive on the marketing video. Doing what you're doing for a toy room sounds cool. And I could just say, oh, they're going into an existing nonprofit bureaucratic organization and cleaning a room. So that video needs to tell narrative, not just the what. It needs to be the why, and it needs to be the who. So narrative is like telling a story about why it is what you're doing is what's going to show the impact of what you're doing. So it sounds like Jack's done some handyman work. It's great. I could use you at my house, Jack. Just a side note. If you go in and you do stuff, get some freaking video on that and say, here's why this matters. Here's who it impacts. You can't just stand back and say kids with cancer. More narrative, detail that of course is legal and HIPAA and all that kind of stuff. So Chris will know about that. But tell the narrative in your video. Number two, you had a few things that I thought were really good. One of them said something like helping to create a volunteer program. That's not a thing. There needs to be a quantifiable assessment. Either you created a volunteer program or you didn't. I really hope you do, and I really hope you can pull it off, and I really like that's awesome. That's the seed for sustainability, right? So that's cool. But helping to build a program, none of us can look at that and go, oh, they helped, or oh, they didn't. Either you did or you didn't, or else define in measurable terms, what do you mean by helping to create a volunteer program? I think that looks good. Bottom line, really great job, straight out of the gate, impressed. Your context and background, I know a lot of that, of course, came from Hutch and working there. Your context was awesome. Go to Canvas, click on modules, and scroll to the very bottom. You will see a really dumb, simple performance to plan metric. Use something like that, make it prettier, and it should be for all 4 or 5 of your metrics that you have. Anything that's measurable over time, which is everything you're doing, you can revise that metric. If you don't know how to use Excel, call me, and I will get after your university for making sure that toolkit wasn't in your hand. It should have been done. But if you don't know how to do it, there's no shame in that. Just get a hold of me. We'll get on a Zoom, and I'll show you how to create that metric. We want to see performance to plan. That's listed kind of right there. Number 4 says current performance compared to the original breakdown structure. And number 5 says for the presentation's current status on all initiatives. That just means, what are you intending to do, and are you making progress to get there? That needs to be some kind of graphic, some kind of chart that we can follow. But otherwise, Team 1, freaking awesome. Unfortunately for everybody else, Team 2 is also a stacked team. They have a good vision, and I know met with them a few times, and I know Juan was there. He's got some familiarity with the area. A few people are close by, so that's super helpful. Side note, not throwing Brittany and Laura under the bus, but I can't evaluate somebody's presentation if they didn't make a presentation. So Grace this time, that's fine. For everybody planning in the future, if somebody is not there in the video, if they're not doing some kind of presenting, they get a 0. That's because I can't evaluate your presentation if you didn't give a presentation. It's not just a flat team grade across the board. So you don't outdo one another, like, come on, cohesiveness, same team, but you got to be there. That does not mean that everybody has to speak the same amount of time or anything like that, right? That's not what I mean. I mean, the evidence should be that the 4 of you pull in the same direction, and I know the 2 of you are shredders. You're freaking awesome. We've talked, we've met. I'm not worried about you at all, but just make sure everybody's in the video next time for all teams. Number 2. Oh, yeah, I just my note here was props to Juan and Connor. You guys did a good job. Well done. Include the date or... Oh, geez. Juan, your context of the community of Highland was legit. So... I think it was Chris that crushed it in the first video, talking about here's the context of the people we want to impact. Like here's their scenario, right? In terms of kids going through treatment, toy room, etc., families, siblings, etc. And you guys in Team 2 freaking crushed it. Highland, if I heard your data right, if that data's right, and I know Juan's a data guy, so I believe it's right, that means over 50% of the community of Highland is in school, or at least kids, like I'm under the age of 21. That's a big impact. He also talked about need-based stuff. So that was kind of a lesson for everybody. Paint the context of the people that you're trying to impact. That's a big deal. That needs to be in your video. That's a narrative. Just like I was telling Jack, tell the stories in Team 1, in Team 2. That part of what we're trying to do is not just build a youth center, right? There's a particular population that has a particular set of needs, and those are viable needs that anybody can get around, so that's good. Recommendation that I have for you, and this is only based on what I've seen in the town of Ellensburg. There's a hay farmer. Not a hay farmer. He's like, I don't know, friggin' owns half the state kind of guy. But he's community minded and he wants to have a good reputation with the community, and he's an honest guy and he's a quality guy, and I know him and I respect him. I'm not a big fan of rich people in general, but he's one I'm a big fan of. He owned a building that was on like 10 acres that he just bought in a real estate deal. It was sitting there, it wasn't being used, and a local community group called Young Life basically said, if we take care of that building, can we use it as our office? And they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids coming through multiple times a week through that building. So this might be an idea for up there in Highland. I know there's a lot of agriculture. There's people who own real estate. You can lock arms and partner with Stuart. It's going to be tough to get to your, you said 150, I'm saying more like 450, but I didn't see your numbers on how you get to that number. If there's somebody who says, I have land, I have a building, I care about the community, then everything they do is tax deferred, charitable contributions. That's good for their company. And second, they get to keep the asset. So they don't actually lose anything, and they make a big dent in the building. So if you can find somebody like that in Highland, I think that would be a big win. Number 2, Team 2, same as Team 1, there are no metrics, performance to plan. Go to Canvas, click on modules, scroll to the very bottom. You will see a rudimentary, really kind of straightforward metric there that you can tweak. Next, projections for deliverables are not meeting dates or meeting agendas. What I want to know in the projections for deliverables are how are you going to get it done? Not just what you want to get done, but how you're going to get it done. That's connected to the work breakdown structure. Those are the steps that ultimately take you there. Good, let's show me performance to plan. Yep, okay. Meeting, schedule, not projection, need metrics. I wrote down like need metrics. Don't worry. Every group needs metrics. One of the things that I want you to get out of this experience, everybody, I don't care if you win, you lose, you fail, you succeed, whatever. Can we measure a project? Can we cast a vision, build strategies, create initiatives and tactics that watch those strategies succeed to accomplishing the vision, and can you lead it from start to finish? You got to lead it by being able to say, here's where we intended to be, here's where we are. It's called a performance to plan metric. This is what you want to show wherever you are. Here's how we're making progress. So we need metrics in there. However, you did throw in a Gantt chart. It's great to Google for every other group. Google Gantt chart or critical path chart, something like that. Same thing. That was freaking rad. You guys did a good job on that one. Like it was like a little, like I don't know if everyone would pick up on that, but like my little nerd mind was like, oh cool, they have a Gantt chart. So like that was awesome. If you tell me challenges, this is my last thing for you guys. If you tell me challenges, give me a solution. So when we go up here, there's 2 reasons for you to tell me challenges. There's one thing I'm looking for and the one thing everybody else is looking for. When you say, here are the challenges we have as a team, I want everybody to, we're going to rally, I'm going to rally, I'm rallying right now to say, here's kind of some solutions to those challenges, right? Number 2, I want to hear your plan to overcome those challenges. So I used to work with a guy named Alan Mulally. He was the president of Boeing. Then he went over to Ford. He was the CEO. Now he's down on the board at Alphabet, Google. And he would say, anybody in here can complain about anything they want. And after they complain, they need to tell me their plan to solve it. So it was this idea of like, propose a plan, find a way. So as every team is going through and you're saying, here's our challenge, here, and what I want to hear, what I'm looking for is, here's how we intend to overcome this challenge. And then there's the ask. Any ideas, any wisdom, any resources, like we're all ears. Help us out. This is our plan. And you may come into a point where we have this challenge and our plan to overcome it is not working. That's okay. There's no shame in that. It's every one of us in everyday life, right? Like, I would love to be 6'4", $180 and just totally shredded. I don't have a plan to get there. There's some challenges called genetics and behavior and a million other things. That's okay if you're not going to get there. But what we need to hear is, here's the challenge, here's our plan to solve it. So a big idea of first 2 groups, you set the bar high. It's not going to be easy for people following. Both of you did a really good job with context. Like, here's why this matters. Let's keep that rolling. Let's not lose sight of that every presentation. It can be the 4th time you said it. You can say, as a reminder, here's what we're doing and here's why. And then jump into it. Don't lose the why. That's what's compelling. Number 2, everybody needs metrics, specifically performance to plan metrics. If you say our plan is to have 40 to 50 volunteers, that's not a metric. 40 to 50 volunteers, by when, doing what, put it on a chart, and show me how many you have today and how many you are on schedule to have, in this case 40 to 50, by the end of the quarter or by the event or whatever it is. So performance to plan. Again, this is for everybody. Click on modules, scroll to the bottom, you'll see an ugly one. It's rudimentary, it's basic, but you can track the logic. And if you say, Avi, we're trying to make performance to plan metrics, we don't know how to do it, great, get a hold of me. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, freaking rad. What a cool start. It's the end of January, y'all. It's 1 month out. You basically have the month of February, which is the shortest month, right? Last time I checked, to crush it. We got 4 weeks from right now, and we should be riding this one all the way into the sunset the first 2 weeks of March. So keep in touch. I've been able to meet with almost every group and many of them multiple times. It's been awesome. Thanks for including me. It's an online class. You don't have to include me. No pressure. But that's what I'm looking for. Hope you're having a good time. We'll talk to you soon.